So today I have a 2004 F-550. This one's a 24-foot cube van, so it's way too big to fit anywhere. So I get to work on it outside. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's minus 35 with the wind chill. Earlier it was minus 40, so I decided to wait a little while. I've taken a couple things off already just to make this video a little bit more streamlined because I'm freezing my fingers off. Okay, so basically all I did here, this is a simple job. Power steering line blew on it yesterday. Luckily, it was just a return line, so a cheap hose on that front. Anyways, to get a little bit more access, all I had to do was remove the intake. All I did there was unhook the clamp around the air filter and then take the clamp here off on the intake manifold. It is connected by this mass airflow sensor wire right here, so I didn't unplug it because again it's minus 35 and pretty much anything you touch breaks, so I just moved that out of the way and set it aside. This plastic thing right here sits actually over top and snaps on over top of the hose that I'm trying to replace, so I had to move that off. Now unfortunately the plastic broke, of course, because it's minus 35. Anyways, I will show you here. I don't know if you can see it from the top, but you'll see the hose there that is closest to the frame. That is the leaking hose. It just travels right from the gearbox there, straight down. Show you from the bottom. Right there. So this will be a simple hose to fix. One clamp, one nut, and they're fairly easy to get out. So we will get that changed out quickly. Okay, so just a little tip here. The little plastic piece here goes right in between the leaf spring. Like I'm sitting just in front of the front tire. And then there's a little plastic pipe retainer that sits right there. Of course it broke, again, minus 35. I actually had to use, here you can see we got the hose off. I actually had to use a heat gun to get the hose off because it's so cold. The hose won't flex whatsoever. So a little bit of heat from the heat gun and I was able to pop the hose off there without damaging it. And now we're gonna pull the hose out from the top. I looked at doing it from the bottom, but it'll just be a lot easier to pull all off from the top. Okay, so it actually came out easier from the bottom. Well, actually I was on top, and then as I pulled it out of the hole on top of the gear, the whole hose kind of just slid down the gear and right out the bottom. So there's the old hose. Okay, so I ended up doing this in the garage. I took the hose out. There's an O-ring that came in this little baggie, and then there's also a little cap just to make sure you don't get any dirt in this end while you're installing it. So anyways, I did this in the garage just because I wanted to make sure this O-ring was, I didn't tear this O-ring because it was so cold. So I put this O-ring on here in the garage, and I'm going to try and warm it up as best I can just because, you know, you want it to seal. And also, before you put this on, make sure you double check the old pipe that this O-ring came out with it, because if you double seal it, you're going to have a leak for sure. Alright, so I've got the hose back on, and basically as soon as you get the hose back on, you can just go ahead and toss that intake piping back together, and that's really all you got to do. You know, aside from hooking up, aside from obviously tightening up the fitting and getting the hose on the bottom. Now I actually had to take the heat gun and warm up the hose when I put the hose back on the bottom fitting, only because of the temperature. The hose is so hard that the clamp likely would not have sealed the hose onto the pipe properly. It's just not strong enough. It's one of those spring-loaded constant tension clamps. So I just took my heat gun, I heated up the hose so it was nice and warm, and then I slid the pipe in there, put the hose clamp on it, left the heat gun on it for a few more seconds until it was all kind of just warm to the touch, and that I could squeeze the hose with my fingers. Not that many of you are probably going to be doing this in minus 35, but if it is below zero, it's a good idea to make sure those rubber hoses are warm before you go and clamp them back together, because they just won't seal. They're just too stiff. So if you can warm it up, it'll help that clamp kind of seal it to the pipe, and then hopefully you should be good to go. Just came in the garage here for a few minutes to warm up. So one thing I didn't mention is that this system is called a Hydroboost system. If you watch my last video on how to fill and bleed power steering systems, I was talking about conventional systems and how I would make a video on the Hydroboost style system. It's a brief, sorry my lips are not working here, a brief overview on what a Hydroboost system is as opposed to a conventional system is that it uses your power steering fluid as your brake booster. So in a traditional car or small vehicle, you would have a vacuum booster. That is what helps your, that's what they call power brakes, is your vacuum booster. It just adds pressure to your brakes, which helps you stop easier. If any of you have ever had have had a vacuum booster fail, you'll know that it's extremely hard to slow your car down. You have to push significantly hard on the brake pedal. Anyways, so the Hydroboost system uses hydraulic fluid power to give you that power brakes that you have in your car if you're running a Hydroboost system. So basically you're just taking your power steering fluid, it's traveling up to your brake booster, and then using that high pressure as your boost, and then that also travels down to your power steering rack or gear or whatever you have. Okay, so this process works on both gas or diesel engines with Hydroboost. So basically what you're going to do is once you replace whatever you're replacing, then you're going to fill up the reservoir all the way to full, and then the only thing you got to do here is with the engine off, you're going to turn the steering wheel all the way left and then all the way right about 5 times. So like left, right, and then that's 1, left, right, 2, left, right, and obviously that's so on and so forth. And then once you're done that, you're going to press the brake pedal 3 times, down to the floor, back, down to the floor and back, and down to the floor and back. And then at that point, you just recheck your fluid, and you got to keep doing that until your fluid level basically stops dropping. That's how you bleed it on a Hydroboost system. Now also I should mention that you're supposed to have the wheels jack off the ground when you're doing this. There's not supposed to be any load on the steering system